Well, let's do this. We have Arsenal's group. We are in Group F. And it's the Europa League. Yes, get in there. It's not quite the Champions League. But of course, last night I reacted to the Champions League draw. Today we're doing the Europa League draw. I've also got another video coming up soon regarding PES Master League. They've released a new trailer, so I'm going to be walking you guys through that. But now, let's take a look at the group stages. We're going to go quite quickly through these because there's a lot of groups, of course. So Group A is Sevilla, Apoel, Qarabag, Dudelange. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Sevilla and Qarabag, I would say, maybe going through, but Apoel, decent side. I'm going to be honest, I've got no idea about that fourth team whatsoever. Sevilla being the main team in that group there. Group B, Dynamo Kiev. We've got Copenhagen, Malmo. That's from Sweden. I do not want to pronounce that one wrong in front of Elin. And then we've got Lugano. So not the most exciting group ever. Group C, we have Basel, Krasnodar, Getafe and Trabzonspor. That's a pretty tight group, actually. I think all of those teams could do decent, although maybe Krasnodar is the weakest one there. And you would be expecting either, I would say, Basel or Getafe to be winning that group. Then into Group D. Is it the group of death? Ooh, I tell you what. That's a good group. Sporting, PSV and Rosenborg. And then LASK. I don't know which team that is. Maybe I kind of recognise it. I was hoping that there would be a group like this where it's a little bit closer than maybe some of the others. There's two very, very strong teams in there with Sporting and PSV. I think they'll be the favourites to go through. But Rosenborg, they've done well in the past. Then we have Group E, which is Lazio, Celtic, Stade Rennais, and then we've got CFR Cluj. Lazio and Celtic and Stade Rennais. That's good. I think that's three very good sides there. Lazio, I think, will have the best squad going into that and will probably be doing the best out of those four. But Celtic, you can never, ever rule out Celtic. And the same with Stade Rennais. Although they've sold Sarr, one of their best players from last season, to Watford, they'll do well. And we're going to leave Arsenal's group until last. Let's go ahead and do Group G now. We've got Porto, Young Boys, Feyenoord and Rangers. That's the best squad. That's the best club. That's the best group so far. I think so. Anyway, that's a tight one. Porto up against Young Boys, Feyenoord and Rangers. That's a really good one. Okay, we'll look out for that one. Nothing compared to the Champions League groups, of course, though. CSK Moscow, Ludogorets, Espanyol and Ferencvaros. We'll move on from that. I cannot pronounce that to save my life. I think Espanyol and CSKA will probably be favourites to go through that. Ludogorets, though, we've played them. Arsenal fans will remember that, I'm sure. Was that the game where Mesut scored that unbelievable goal where he took it around about four players? Oh. Next, we have Wolfsburg, Ghent, Saint Etienne, and Alexandria. I really should look into some of these teams. I've not heard of a couple of these. Wolfsburg, Ghent, and Saint Etienne. That is also a very strong group. Okay, we'll look out for that one as well. Group J, we've got Roma, Mönchengladbach, Istanbul, and Wolfsburg. Not Wolfsburg. So that's another interesting one. Roma and Mönchengladbach, of course, will be favourites there. I think Roma will probably be very happy with that draw. Then in Group K, Besiktas, Braga, Wolves, and Slovan Bratislava. So Wolves, I'm really, really excited to see how they get on in the Europa League. And they've drawn somewhat a tough group there. Besiktas can always prove to be a little bit difficult. Any game in Russia, Turkey, these kind of obscure European countries that are quite far away, although Portugal's not very far, but it's going to be difficult for them to go to Braga and Besiktas to Turkey. It's going to be an interesting one to see if Wolves can actually, as well as the Premier League, do well in the Europa League as well. And then Group L, Manchester United in Group L, typical. They've got Astana, Partizan and AZ Alkmaar. That's a very good group for them. I think they'll take that. So they're going to Kazakhstan, right? So that'll be a long trip for Manchester United fans. But of course, you would be expecting them to win this group. Maybe along with AZ. I think they've got a decent squad as well. But here is Arsenal's group. And it's not the easiest. Frankfurt did very, very well last season. They made it pretty far into the tournament. And they're not going to be as good this season, having lost Jovic, for example. Willems, of course, has gone to Newcastle. They've sold a few players here and there, but they've also recruited some, so that will be a good one. Standard Liège, we've played them many times before, if I remember correctly. Could always be a difficult one. That at least it's kind of close by, similar to Germany when we're playing Frankfurt. And then we have Vitória SC. I don't know too much about them. Are they in Portugal? I think they might be Portuguese. That's a really, really good group. I'm quite happy with that. It'll be a challenge. Frankfurt for sure will be a good challenge for us. But quite honestly, we should be winning every single game in that group. We really should be. And of course, as I've already said a few times, this is just nothing compared to the Champions League groups. Some of those groups were insane. But I think ideally, I'd say F, J, K and L are the main. Well, E is pretty good as well, and maybe D. The rest of them, not so exciting. Group G could be good as well. They're all pretty good. I'm happy. This is why I do love the pot system. We have 4 pots and then you mix them, and I think it's just a great way to do it. You're guaranteeing at least a good and a pretty good team in the same group together, and then you're putting in 2 of the maybe not so good teams. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Europa League goes this season, because I wanted to spend the last part of this video talking about last year's Europa League and also talking about who just won the player of the Europa League last season. Let's start with that because that makes sense. So I just saw that Eden Hazard won it. Now, don't really want to say he doesn't deserve it because he probably does. He's had a very good year, or did have a very good year at Chelsea, and ultimately took them all the way to the end of the tournament and won it, right? But there is one player that I think deserves it more. Olivier Giroud. What was it? 11 goals, 5 assists. I think I read somewhere. Olivier Giroud was, in my opinion, the best player in the Europa League last season. Chelsea did not use him in the Premier League as much, and they saved him, it seemed, for the Europa League. And I think, honestly, in some games, he saved them. And I would say he carried them more than Hazard did in the Europa League. I don't think Hazard even played more than half the games. So the fact it's gone to Eden Hazard is a little bit of a shame. I would have loved to seen the ex-Arsenal striker win it. Olivier Giroud is just a beast. I love the guy. I will always love him, even though he frustrated me sometimes at Arsenal. He is a good striker, and he really, really deserved to win it. So I'm a little bit sad that he didn't. But let's talk about last season, how Arsenal did, and then how I think we're going to do this season. So last year, and the year before, in fairness, in Wenger's last year, we made it pretty far in the first year with Wenger, or the last year, sorry, the not last year, the year before. We did okay, Atletico in the end pipped us to the final, and that's okay because although we weren't close in the Premier League to getting top 4, really, were we? So we didn't have that second chance that we had last season, which was we were in control of the top 4 and we had the chance to qualify via the Europa League final as well. But of course, we completely destroyed our chances in the league last year by losing to Palace at home, drawing to Brighton at home, losing a couple away games as well. And it meant we absolutely had to win the final against Chelsea. The year before that, the pressure wasn't as much. We all knew it was Wenger's last season, and yes, we really wanted to win it for him, send him off with his first European trophy with Arsenal. That would have been great, right? But last season was different. We absolutely had to win, and it still drives me insane that we didn't beat Chelsea in the final when we had such a decent chance. We really did. Chelsea weren't playing particularly well at the time. They'd already qualified for the Champions League, so technically the only thing they had to fight for was the trophy itself, and obviously that's a good thing. But there was no massive reward like there was for Arsenal, which was qualification for the Champions League. We'd already failed to do it via the Premier League, and it was so integral to the season and our budget, which turns out we were okay in the end. We managed to bring in some good players, but it's painful. It really is. And I think this year has to be the year. We've got the best manager in the world for Europa League. Although last season doesn't help, does it? He got to the final but didn't win it. He's, of course, won it many times in the past. He did it so many times with Sevilla. Really impressive record. But this season, I'm expecting the win. I don't think anything else would be acceptable unless we're in the top 4 of the Premier League. But My prediction this season has changed a little bit. Before the season started, before we made the signing of Pepe even, and a couple of the others, I didn't think we'd finish in the top 4 at all. I thought it wouldn't even be close. I thought we'd finish probably a couple of points behind 5th, something like that. But having made those transfers and having made a decent start to the season, it really hasn't been too bad if you exclude the Liverpool moments of craziness. We've been okay, and I do think we can fight for the top 4, which would mean the Europa League isn't as important. But the reality is, guys, the top 4 is going to be tight this year again. There are 6, 7, even 8 teams that could be well up there. And the odds are we'll ruin it for ourselves again. Okay, so we will probably have to rely on this tournament again. We've been given a good group in Group F. It's really not that bad. It could have been harder. We could have got some other teams in there that we really wouldn't want to face. But we've done okay there. It's not the easiest, but it's not the hardest. I think we can make it through that quite comfortably. And then just hopefully we get lucky draws. And hopefully avoid a Manchester United on the way, because that would always be a tough game. A Roma, a Porto, a Lazio, Sevilla. These are the clubs that we would like to avoid. So I'll be watching some of these games outside of the Arsenal group, hoping for some upsets, so we could see maybe 1 or 2 of the strong teams actually getting knocked out in the group stage. That would be ideal. But thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed my reaction to the Europa League draw, then please do drop a like rating, and I will see you guys for the next video soon.